they started talking over him. He just flipped out. He was like, no, listen to me. I was like, oh my God, Riddler, please. Hey folks, my name's Josh Hunter. This is my lovely wife, Andrea. We are the owners and operators of the comic shop right next door, Crush Comics. When we do a first run superhero or science fiction or any kind of genre picture
applicable to our business,
we like to come and hang out at the Chabot, and then after the picture, we like to talk about it. So if you guys want to hear us ramble about superhero stuff,
we're just the local professional nerds giving our 2 cents about what we just watched. So we invite our employees up with us, and we all give our first impressions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the Chabot and supporting Crush Comics right next door.
Thanks very much.
Andrea, Josh, we have Cole, and Miles up here today. And Tyler, I'm going to publicly shame him. He is our other employee who is actually the only faithful Batman reader who will actually not get up here tonight. So, initial reactions.
Amazing.
Let's get an applause meter, right? Okay, so how do we like it compared to Michael Keaton? Okay. Compared to Val Kilmer? Okay. Compared to Christian Bale? Okay. How about...
You forgot George.
Ben Affleck. Am I forgetting one? Oh, George Clooney, nipples.
No.
Okay. So, it was, I was pleasantly surprised.
Matt Reeves is the greatest to ever do it, period.
Miles?
I just told Andrea, they saved the for over 30 years, you know. Tim Burton put out Batman, Zack Snyder put out Batman, Christopher Nolan put out The Dark Knight. This was the Batman. He earned the.
Yeah, so I thought it was really cool. I liked it a lot. I'm a big fan of the detective Batman, and we don't get to see that too often. So like getting kind of a buddy cop movie with him and Commissioner Gordon was rad, and not a direction I expected, but really cool. Yeah, Commissioner Gordon.
Batman's title is Detective Comics.
Detective Comics, right? So.
World's greatest detective. It's actually Detective Comics, if you didn't know that. DC stands for Detective Comics. So.
Yeah.
Comics are nice. They said
No, I thought it was totally rad, like super fun. I'm way more of a Marvel fan, but this was hella cool. Yeah. Favorite part? I think I know what your favorite part was.
Oh, go ahead.
I sat next to Cole, so
I sat next to Josh.
Yeah, I'm having a harder time than usual.
you gave me a sturdy grip on the leg when Bruce grabbed Alfred's hand, and then it panned up, and you just see the bat signal in the sky.
All right, you got me started. All right.
Yeah.
So, one of the greatest things about Batman is undeniably Gotham City, right? Like, we have one of the most iconic settings in fiction that Batman gets to run around with. Like, he's not just the world's greatest detective in a normal city, he's the world's greatest detective in the city with the worst crime ever. The city is a character because of that. And I think they really captured the fact that Gotham has its own character. From the very beginning when we had that like Rorschach speech going through the city and seeing it from the train station, seeing it from the villain's perspective, or the criminal's perspective when they saw the bat signal in the sky. I think the bat signal was my favorite character in this movie. Who?
I mean, there's a lot of voyeurism in this movie, right? So there's a lot of looking through windows and looking through lenses, and I think that was really cool. And how is a city that like rains, like, side note, I hope that they didn't film this in LA because we're in a drought. But like, how is a city that rains so much like the dirtiest city you've ever seen? But they nailed it, right? I'm not a big fan of like a Batman comic because it's a little too dark for me. I like things a little bit more weird, a little bit lighthearted. But as far as like reading the Batman comics that I have read, like this is pretty true to the source material, I feel like.
Also some really creative liberties they were taking with it too. My theory is, all right, I'm to get a little nerdy with y'all real quick. So when the Riddler was given his final message about Thomas Wayne, and he was talking about Edward Elliot, he threw up Hush over the picture. Because in the comics, Thomas Elliot is Hush.
Yeah.
And I saw nothing to disprove my theory that the Riddler is Thomas Elliot.
That would be a really cool twist.
Because in the Hush animated movie, for some reason that baffles me to this day,
Yeah.
they made the Riddler Hush.
But so in the end of so Hush is a comic that came out, what, 2002? 2003. Really cool series. Jim Lee, like one of the coolest artists that's ever graced a page. Well, yeah, I mean, he's one of the coolest, but that band of coolness is already pretty big. He's currently like editor-in-chief of DC Comics. He did a really cool Batman run. Who wrote that?
Jeff Jones.
Jeff Loeb.
Jeff Loeb.
It's a Jeff. Anyway, really cool story. But in that, like at the very end of it, the Riddler was still pulling the strings. He wasn't Hush,
No.
but he was still kind of pulling the strings, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I think in the final issue, that interrogation, Batman interrogating the Riddler is one of the final things.
One of the final things, yeah.
Spoiler.
Sorry.
Available at comic shops everywhere.
There you go.
Yeah. But there were some really cool, like not bait and switches, but a feint, right? Like I was really getting the vibe, and I think from the scene, Batman was getting the vibe that the Riddler figured out that he was Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And they pushed that and then took it back, and that was cool. But like my idea of the ultimate Batman villain is just an IRS auditor that like looks at the books and figures out where did all this money go, So I was really excited in the scene where he was like, I found a ledger and it said renewal, and I was like, oh shit, he knew where all the money went, right? Because that Batmobile for me is probably the coolest one.
Okay, so that was
So
your
rad.
moment.
That
Yeah,
was so
that was
rad.
your moment in
Yeah.
the movie. The Batmobile like whistled, right? Like blow the whistle, right?
Yeah.
We could go whoop whoop.
Yeah.
But
That was awesome.
he like right? We're too close. But that grittiness and the
Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Different look. Like
How do we feel about Colin on the Penguin?
Oh my God.
Was Colin Farrell in this movie?
Yeah, I don't think it was.
I think that was the thing.
Yeah, I think they just ripped him off the page. I don't know what's going on.
He was so good, but I want to focus on the Riddler's performance because I want him to sing me to sleep every night. No, not really, but
Speaking of the song, did you guys pick up on the motif being Ave and Maria?
Yeah.
When they looped it in together and it was like, oh, okay.
They only released 2 songs from this movie, and I listened to them both for
There's
days
3 songs. There's Ave Maria, there's the Nirvana song, and then there's the dun dun dun. Like
so this
3
is
songs
the
on the soundtrack.
This is the best Batman theme ever composed, correct?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
it's
Did you
pretty
guys
cool.
see? Did you guys see the statue? Did everybody see the statue in the scene? Which was weird, but the statue is the bust from the 1960s Batman show. It was there. It was right there. It was so cool. Yeah,
From Adam West.
This is really
Yeah,
the
from
only
the Adam
reason
West
we
show.
That's
can
cool.
do these talks for
Very
you
cool.
guys. For
Very
these-
cool.
for these.
Yeah, I don't-
Anyway, Selena Kyle was killer. She was awesome.
Yeah,
I really
I
like
like all their
that.
twists.
I dig the subtle
Cool.
little ears on her, but
Yeah,
she didn't
I love
cover this part.
a patent leather moment on Catwoman.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, I'm not for
Peter didn't
I'm
do
not
it?
for the matte. I'm for the patent leather
Okay.
on Catwoman.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she was cool. She was very cool.
What do you guys think? Do you have any comments, questions? Favorite part?
It's like a moment of silence for one.
Silence?
Yeah.
It's almost like a silence I thought they committed to that.
They go to the comics.
Yeah.
I thought it was right. I thought it was all over.
Yeah.
I agree with you and the female. I agree with you saying how as much rain as it is, that's Gotham is its own little character. You're correct. It's the darkest, dirtiest, crime-ridden city ever, but it's so famous.
Yeah.
It's so famous.
Yeah.
All by itself, it stands on.
I think they also did a really good job of showing that, as dirty as it is, I think the other aspect of Gotham is that you have people like Jim Gordon or the honest cops that are like a heart to the city, and Batman trying to wade between both of these worlds. I think they like perfectly captured that.
They almost make them like the light of the city.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I loved their dynamic. I was not expecting this to be such a buddy cop movie, but I think Gordon called Batman man every scene. I love that.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know, man.
Chief. He called him Chief a bunch of times too. Like,
No, they were
how
excellent.
cool is that? Like,
When he pushed them up against the wall, I was like, Jim's getting active?
okay. The most unbelievable part of the whole flick, aside from like Batman like on the wingsuit flying and hitting the train and then standing up after he rolled, like, dude, that's like so many slip discs. Like, but the most unbelievable part of the whole movie was when like
They
Gordon was
didn't
like,
take off his mask.
well, when Gordon was like, let me handle this, and they're like, let's give him the room. Like, dude, come on. Those cops
Jim
would,
Gordon
and every one of
pulls a
them
lot
is
of
like,
weight in
freaking-
this
yeah,
town.
I guess.
But I'll tell you what, I think he was getting out of that room if he wanted to. So that was probably just the easy way to not take that L.
Yeah.
Just
I don't know.
give him the room.
It took me out a little bit. Made me give a little bit.
I love it.
I was not expecting to enjoy Robert Pattinson's performance as much as I did. I love Cedric Diggory. I love that man. Boy, he is sad. But like Edward Cullen, it was sort of like, I'm sorry, Raven, I love you, bro. But but he kind of fell off for me. And when he was cast as Batman, I was like, I don't know if he's got the like chutzpah for it. Yeah.
Watch The Lighthouse. That's cool.
I did watch The Lighthouse. That mermaid was wild.
Oh.
I just didn't know if he could pull it off, and I was really, really like he sold it. He sold it to me. I was like, okay, all right, I see you. I think that it's good. I hope that they do more.
Yeah.
They literally put the Joker at the end of this movie. They're probably gonna.
We all got that, right?
Yeah,
Right. The Joker, that was cool.
Poor Joaquin Phoenix.
I feel like this movie could really fit with that Joker. Like I feel like these two movies could intertwine a little
Only
bit.
do you think that they could be arch nemesis?
I kind of think so. I think it could work.
I think the problem with how they set up a Batman Joker relationship from the Joker movie is that he was like a 30, 40-year-old man by the
It's a
time.
big gap, yeah, a big gap.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But everybody's doing a multiverse now.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Am I the only one that's hoping that the young orphan is the Robin stand-in? Because that feels like a really easy transition, right? Like they had
There
a
is
couple
no
of theories for Robin.
circus.
Okay.
Alfred.
A lot of people, just from the first trailer, when we show Batman beating up the face paint guys,
Yeah.
they put a lot of emphasis on that young one.
On that one kid?
Who
He wasn't
he
initiated
he
yet.
wasn't initiated yet.
He
I
was,
think
yeah.
that's your Robin.
That could be cool.
He's from a CW show. I think he already has
Isn't
DC.
he Robin in Titans? When I saw him, I was like, that's the kid that plays Tim Drake in Titans.
He might be
I
already.
think he is.
Oh, in that case, just let him do it
He's already
again.
Robin.
Well, there you go. Let him do it
Are
again.
you
But, like,
ever
the kid
getting
was a
near
ninja
Batman
for
again
Halloween.
though? After what you saw him do to those men? Like you're
The
gonna ride
dude he
shotgun?
was saving doesn't want to be near Batman.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Near Batman.
What's that, Tommy?
I just want to say that one kid that was getting initiated had a red hood on.
He did have the red
He
hood
did
on.
have a red
Did he?
hood.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
That's cool.
If those who don't know, HBO Max is putting out a Penguin show next year with this Penguin.
Really?
With Jeffrey Wright. This makes me think it's going to be about a flooded city overrun with crime, and I'm
So
very excited
that's
for that.
really, I get echoes of the Nolan Batmans a little bit, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the colors in this one felt a lot like the colors in Batman Begins,
Mhm.
and then the ending scene with the bombs going off and then flooding the Gotham Square Garden.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't it like Gotham Triangle Garden or something?
Yeah.
But like echoes of the Bane stuff, and
Yeah.
like when Batman, whatever that was, like the methamphetamines or whatever he pumped
What
in his
is
chest.
that?
Is that Bane?
No.
Is that Bane?
It
has to be. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was green?
But anyway,
He would
where
have
was
lost
I
a
going
guard
with
for
that?
not to be.
Uh, Yeah, just echoes of
I was
the
like,
Nolan
is
stuff.
that
a little
B12?
bit.
Like, what's that?
Yeah. Why didn't you lead with that, dude? Like,
No, that's probably addictive. You see how much Bane juices?
yeah,
Yeah, no, you probably try not to mess with it.
that was cool.
That was nice.
Yeah.
There are a lot of little nods, I think, to. I'm a big nerd for seeing connections between different pieces of media, right? Like Like, I love when they do callbacks to the comics or other shows or previous movies. And DC, at least from my perspective, seems to have less of those. So in this one, I got a lot of little nods that I really enjoyed, like the statue thing and the Venom juice.
The beginning felt like Long Halloween meets Year One.
This, if you guys haven't read Long Halloween is a story. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale did this late 90s maybe. Old book, but really classic. And it's got a lot of the detective politics of Gotham City, politics of the different crime families in it. That's really cool and interesting. I recommend it. Again, at fine comic book stores, rarely stores.
A lot of Catwoman and Batman stuff.
I was gonna say, I really like the way, because in the comics, they're always kind of playing like will they, won't they? They like really shat on us a couple years ago when they said they were gonna get married, but then they didn't. And then what was it? It was a New York paper that ruined it for everybody, and because nerds don't matter and we don't get to have spoilers don't matter.
Nice things first.
Yeah, no nice things first. But the joke or the cat and bat banter, it fit really well with what goes on in the comics. What's that?
I'm a fan of the original Michael Keaton. Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
But anybody notice this was I saw a twist with this Batman. It was he was dark, but it's like you said, the flooding of the city. It was his turning point of light. Did anybody catch that? It changed his thought on humanity just a tad bit.
Yeah, I also think that his confrontation with the Riddler changed for him, changed his heart a little bit, right? Because he's like, this is my mirror, this is another orphan, but I was the orphan in the tower, right? And look at what I haven't been acknowledging. So, I really, I agree.
That's a Bruce Wayne in this.
Yeah, and I always think that there's good Bruce Waynes and there's good Batmans, and it's hard to find one that's both, right?
Except for Michael Keaton.
But I thought he was a better Batman than he was Bruce Wayne. The emo hair.
And that was really cool.
It wasn't the vibe. It wasn't the vibe.
It was the vibe.
No, Miles, it wasn't.
No, I think that kind of brings to a point what the Riddler said, right? He was when I wear my mask, that's the real me. And I think in this movie, when Bruce wears the mask, that's the real Batman, right? He's more Batman than he is Bruce. Really cool.
I'm sure someone will compare the run times of all the other films we've seen Batman in. I think this is easily the most Batman has been Batman in a movie. In The Dark Knight Rises, which is a 2-hour, 45-minute movie, Batman is in the Batsuit for 8 minutes. He's not a liar.
No way.
Check it.
Dark Knight Rises.
Tommy, get him.
Yeah, the tape, Tommy.
He was Batman the whole movie.
There was no schmoozing.
No.
There was
Yeah,
no
we didn't have to
rich
do none of that. Yeah.
Champagne.
Playboy lifestyle, none of that. Yeah.
He rejected it completely in this
Yeah.
movie.
For a moment, I kind of really had hoped that they were going to completely shatter the idea of Thomas Wayne being a good guy. If Thomas Wayne was actually crooked and it was a hit and not a random thing, I think that would have been a bold choice with the mythos.
Is there any basis in the comics for Martha having been an Arkham and having been in Arkham?
Is that a Flashpoint reference? Because I was wondering if they were almost getting on the Joker Martha take with that.
It felt more like the Jeff Johns story Earth 1, where that's got more explicitly said that the Martha Wayne was an Arkham, and the Arkhams had a history of mental illness and stuff like that. So.
Oh, snap! Really?
Yeah.
I never read that. That's cool. That's an Earth 1.
Yeah, Earth 1.
The Earth 1 stuff
Jeff
is
Johns
cool.
and Gary Frank.
Yeah.
It felt a lot like this. That story is also about Batman finding out, even earlier than this, in his first year when he's barely a detective, just somebody knows how to beat up people, he has to put together the pieces of those symbols. So,
that's cool. There's a series of books called Earth 1, and there's an Earth 1 Batman aforementioned. I think the first one was Superman, and then there's an Earth 1 Wonder Woman. Is there a Green Lantern? I think there's a Green Lantern. But they're cool, just kind of twists on the classic mythos. They make it fresh. I really like the Superman Superman one gives you a reason why Krypton exploded, and the reason is really rough. Yeah. Yeah.
Such a tiny detail. They left Penguin tied up, and he waddled away.
He waddled away.
I was like, he got a waddle.
And then, that's what I was gonna say. The thing about Gotham City now being flooded and them have to deal with that, that's like a 12-issue arc in Batman, right? Like,
Yeah, the creation of the Narrows.
Right, like
Yeah.
they'll do something like that in the comics. Like there's an old storyline called Contagion where Gotham City had a crazy disease that was, quarantining everybody, and Batman had to deal with that. So to do like an underwater Gotham, like where's Aquaman?
Where is he?
Hey, my boy gets his time at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Matt Reeves already talked about what villain he'd like to tackle for a sequel, if they let him get a sequel. I'm sure they will.
Who is it?
Well, he just flooded the city, and
Mr. Freeze.
that's a lot of water you could freeze. So he wants to.
Cool.
Could you imagine freezing everything in place?
Talk about this one real quick though. I want to say one more thing that I think this movie really nailed when it came to Batman, or I think it does better in a way even than many of the modern comics do, where Batman has reached this point in the comics of being invincible and all-knowing, and he can just walk into a situation and dismantle everybody, or he can walk into a crime scene and there is no, he can't get it wrong like he got it wrong with this. There is no failure for Batman,
Yeah.
And the fact that he's getting cracked the whole movie and that he can fail, I think that's something that's kind of been lost with the modern character, that he is human. you know? And I think
Batman is almost magic in the comics, right?
Yeah.
He
And in some of
memorized.
the
He's
movies
prepared for
too.
everything.
In some
Yeah.
of the movies too. I appreciated that he that it seemed almost plausible. I mean, other than the lens. but when he was going into the Batcave, it was like, oh my! I mean, that's a place that might exist.
It was like in the Wayne
and
subways.
can we
that was
say? Can we talk about the absolute gothic,
architecture.
architecture in the Wayne home? Could you imagine? Because he didn't fix that up. He didn't change anything.
Yeah,
He
no.
just grew up in a spooky ass mansion tower. What do you have to say?
I want to say, I think Robert did a great job. And though Batman didn't have a lot of facial expression, you could tell with his eyes the amount of feeling.
That's a good point.
The happiness, the sadness, when you figure something out.
Yeah.
I liked how he expressed something with his eyes, even if his facial expression changed.
Yeah, I agree.
He did
He got a really good glimmer under his eye, for the boy that lost his dad. There was a moment he really emoted through what little he had to work with.
No, that's a good
I
point.
agree. I totally agree.
I'm a fan. I thought it was really
I
cool.
was pleasantly surprised. I went in with very low expectations, and I thought that they produced a really good Batman.
Matt Reeves is the best to ever do it.
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson, Giacchino with the score.
Yeah.
Matt Reeves made a trilogy about talking apes better than any trilogy about talking apes has any right to be.
He did it.
They are literal masterpieces, and he's about to do it again, but with a Batman.
It was really cool. Yeah. I'll go see another one.
Yeah.
Right here, Naked Tonight. I'm probably gonna see it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much.
Anything else? Anybody? No?
Nope.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Cool. All right.
thank you for
guys. Yeah.
supporting Chabot. Thank you for coming out. And if you would like to read or talk more about Batman, come and visit us
That's all we do.
next door. That's
Yeah.
what we are
We
here for.
we got we get reviews online from time to time, and we got a negative review on Google, and the review was, I didn't like that place because they were just talking about movies the whole time, and somebody, there's these companies that as a business owner they email you, and it's kind of like a spam thing, but they're like, we'll remove these negative reviews for you, and they link to that one, and I replied, I was like, no, we kind of earned that one. I'm gonna take that. That's accurate. Yeah.
But always feel free to interrupt them and ask
Please,
serious
please interrupt
questions.
us, yeah.
No one will ever be mad at you if you
I
do
was
that.
hoping that Alfred was in on it. We were to get some crooked Butler thing,
No,
'cause that'd be so
never.
cool.
Not Alfred.
Yeah, they're not. They're not ready for the Butler dinner.
There's
No.
no, he had cuts on his eye
He
before
did.
he got it.
Oh Well, he was in
That is also very
Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Well,
Right?
hang on, didn't he make some comment about the circus while he was talking to Batman? So maybe
He
that
did. He did,
maybe
yeah.
that kid is gonna go into the circus that he's
See?
Maybe.
and then he can become.
Yeah, because they didn't name that kid.
No.
Did not.
We just apparently know his last name, but, you know. Anyway, thank you guys very much for coming to the Chabot. Thank you very much for hanging out and listening to us nerd out about this silly costume superhero people in tights. I don't know why we like it so much.
It
but it's
wasn't
fun.
tights. It was a badass armor.
It was cool.
It looked
It was
good.
like motorcycle armor.
It looked good. Yeah.
How many times did he have to like costume change though? Like he went into the club and then like took out with it and he's like, cool, now I can put my stuff.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Was he not wearing it underneath? Because he was very puffy.
He was. But he had to pull the cap on. So.
Okay, we gotta let these
Anyway,
guys go.
anyway, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thanks again, and have a good night. Whew.